Steve entered a small church to pray and discovered it was about to close, leaving neighborhood children with nowhere safe to go. His intervention created a youth center that proved sometimes the most important prayers are answered not through words, but through actions that protect the most vulnerable members of our communities. It was a quiet Saturday evening in September 2024, and Steve Harvey was driving through a neighborhood on the south side of Atlanta when he felt drawn to stop for prayer and reflection. He had just finished a demanding week of television tapings and business meetings, and his soul was seeking the peace and spiritual grounding that only quiet prayer could provide. As Steve drove slowly through the residential area, he spotted New Hope Children's Ministry, a small brick church with a modest sign that immediately caught his attention. The building was clearly older but well-maintained, with colorful children's artwork visible in the windows and a playground visible in the side yard. Something about the church's obvious focus on children resonated with Steve, and he felt compelled to stop. Steve parked his car and approached the church's front entrance, noticing that the heavy wooden doors were unlocked despite the late hour. As he gently pushed open the door and stepped inside, he was immediately struck by the warm, welcoming atmosphere of the sanctuary. The church was clearly designed with children in mind. The walls were painted in bright, cheerful colors, and child-sized furniture was arranged in circles throughout the main room. Artwork, created by young hands, covered bulletin boards, and shelves lined with books, games, and educational materials suggested this was more than just a place of worship. It was a community center where children felt safe, valued, and loved. Steve was admiring the thoughtful way the space had been created for young people when he heard voices coming from a small office area near the back of the church. As he moved closer, he could make out the conversation of what sounded like several adults engaged in a serious, emotional discussion. "I've served this community for 15 years, a woman's voice was saying, thick with emotion. "These children are like my own, and the thought of abandoning them breaks my heart." Steve hesitated, not wanting to intrude on what was clearly a private conversation, but something about the desperation in the woman's voice compelled him to quietly approach the office area. Through the partially open door, Steve could see 3 adults sitting around the small table, covered with papers, financial documents, and what appeared to be legal notices. The woman speaking appeared to be in her 50s, with kind eyes and the worn expression of someone who had dedicated her life to serving others. "Pastor Williams," a man's voice responded, "we've explored every option. The building owner is selling the property to developers. Our fundraising efforts have fallen short, and we simply don't have the resources to relocate the ministry." "But what about the children?" Pastor Williams replied. "We serve over 60 kids from this neighborhood every day. After-school programs, tutoring, meals for those whose families struggle to provide adequate nutrition, summer camps, weekend activities. We're not just a church, we're the heart of this community's child care support system." Steve realized he was overhearing a conversation about the potential closure of what was clearly a vital community resource for local children. His heart immediately went out to Pastor Williams and her team, who were obviously facing an impossible situation. "Mr. Johnson," Pastor Williams continued, addressing the man at the table, "you know the statistics for this neighborhood. These children need safe, supervised environments where they can learn, play, and be nurtured. If we close, where will they go after school? Who will provide homework help and meals? Who will ensure they have positive role models and alternatives to the street activities that threaten their futures?" Steve could no longer remain silent. He gently knocked on the office door frame and spoke softly. "Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm Steve Harvey, and I came here seeking a quiet place to pray. I couldn't help but overhear your conversation about the church potentially closing. Is there anything I might be able to help with?" The 3 adults in the office looked up in surprise, clearly recognizing the television host, but uncertain why he was in their small neighborhood church. Pastor Sandra Williams stood up immediately, extending her hand in welcome, despite the stress and sadness evident in her expression. Mr. Harvey, what an unexpected blessing. I'm Pastor Sandra Williams, and this is my ministry team, James Johnson and Maria Santos. We're facing a crisis that will impact every child in this neighborhood, but I don't want to burden you with our troubles. Pastor Williams, if children are involved, then it's not a burden, it's an opportunity for me to help. Please tell me what's happening. Over the next hour, Pastor Williams explained the situation in detail. New Hope Children's Ministry had been serving the neighborhood for 15 years, providing after-school programs, tutoring, meals, summer camps, and weekend activities for children from low-income families. The ministry served as a safe haven for kids whose parents worked multiple jobs, who needed academic support, or who simply needed a positive environment where they could develop confidence and life skills. Mr. Harvey, we're more than just a church, Pastor Williams explained. We're a community anchor. Children come here directly from school every day. We help them with homework, provide snacks and meals, offer music and art programs, teach life skills, and most importantly, we give them hope and positive adult mentorship. How many children does the ministry serve regularly? Steve asked. 62 children participate in our daily programs, ranging in age from 5 to 16. During summer months, we serve over 100 children through our summer camp and meal programs. Steve was impressed by the scope and impact of the ministry's work. What's causing the closure? James Johnson answered. The property owner is selling the building to a developer who plans to demolish it for a commercial development. Our lease expires at the end of this month, and we've been unable to find alternative space that we can afford on our limited budget. Have you looked into purchasing the building yourselves? The asking price is $450,000, Maria Santos replied. We're a small ministry operating on donations and volunteer support. We simply don't have access to that kind of funding. Steve was quiet for several minutes, processing the information and considering the impact that losing this ministry would have on the neighborhood children and families who depended on it. Pastor Williams, show me around the facility. I want to understand exactly what you've built here and what these children would be losing. For the next hour, Pastor Williams gave Steve a comprehensive tour of the ministry. She showed him the homework help area where volunteers tutored children struggling academically, the kitchen where meals were prepared for kids who might not eat properly otherwise, the art room where children expressed creativity and built confidence, the library stocked with books and educational materials, and the playground where kids could safely play and exercise. Mr. Harvey, this building represents 15 years of building trust with families, creating programs that address real needs, and establishing relationships that literally save children's lives, Pastor Williams explained as they concluded the tour. Tell me about the children's specific needs. Many of our children come from single-parent households where the parent works multiple jobs just to pay rent and buy groceries. Without our after-school program, these kids would be unsupervised from 3 p.m. until late evening. We provide structure, supervision, academic support, and positive adult mentorship during those critical hours. Steve was deeply moved by what he had learned about the ministry's impact and the devastating effect its closure would have on vulnerable children. Pastor Williams, what would it take to not just save this ministry, but to expand it and make it even more effective in serving neighborhood children? Pastor Williams looked at Steve with surprise. Mr. Harvey, are you suggesting that you might be able to help us? I'm suggesting that these children deserve to keep their safe haven, and that what you've built here is too important to lose. Let's talk about solutions. Steve spent the rest of the evening working with Pastor Williams and her team to develop a comprehensive plan that would not only save New Hope Children's Ministry, but transform it into a state-of-the-art youth center that could serve even more children with expanded programs and resources. Pastor Williams, I want to purchase this building and donate it to the ministry. But I also want to fund renovations that will create additional classroom space, update the kitchen facilities, expand the library and computer lab, and add recreational facilities that will make this the premier youth center in the area. Pastor Williams was overcome with emotion. "Mr. Harvey, what you're describing would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars." Pastor Williams, "I've been blessed with more resources than I need, and I believe those blessings come with the responsibility to invest in the next generation. These children represent our future, and ensuring they have safe, nurturing environments where they can thrive is one of the most important investments anyone can make." Steve committed not only to purchasing the building, but to funding a complete renovation and expansion that would triple the ministry's capacity to serve children. The project would include new classrooms for tutoring and educational programs, an expanded kitchen capable of serving hundreds of meals daily, a technology center with computers and internet access for children who lacked these resources at home, an arts and crafts studio, a music room, a gymnasium for sports and physical activities, and updated playground equipment. But Steve's vision extended beyond just improving the physical facility. He also committed to funding program expansion that would include hiring professional staff to complement the volunteer workforce, establishing partnerships with local schools to provide specialized academic support, creating mentorship programs, connecting children with positive adult role models, and developing life skills programs that would prepare older children for success in high school and beyond. Pastor Williams, "I want this youth center to become a model for how communities can support their children. I want other neighborhoods to visit here and say, we want to create something like this for our children too." The renovation project took 6 months to complete, during which time Steve's foundation provided temporary space and funding to ensure the ministry's programs could continue without interruption. When the new Hope Youth Center reopened in March 2025, it was beyond anything Pastor Williams had dreamed possible. The reopening celebration was attended by hundreds of community members, local officials, and families who had been served by the ministry over the years. Children who had grown up in the program and gone on to graduate high school and college returned to see the expanded facility and express gratitude for the role the ministry had played in their success. "This youth center represents something beautiful," Steve told the crowd gathered for the reopening. "It represents what happens when a community refuses to give up on its children, and when people with resources choose to invest in the future rather than just themselves." Pastor Williams spoke about the transformation with tears of gratitude. 6 months ago, we thought we were going to have to tell 62 children that they had nowhere safe to go after school. Today, we're opening our doors to serve over 200 children with programs and facilities that exceed anything we ever imagined possible. The new Hope Youth Center's impact was immediate and measurable. Academic performance among participating children improved significantly, with 95% of students showing grade-level advancement in reading and mathematics. The expanded meal program ensured that no child who participated went hungry. The mentorship program connected at-risk youth with positive adult role models who provided guidance and support during critical developmental years. Most importantly, the youth center provided the safe, nurturing environment that allowed children to develop confidence, learn important life skills, and envision positive futures for themselves. 2 years after the center's expansion, Steve visited again to assess the long-term impact of the investment. He found a thriving community hub where children not only received academic and social support, but were developing leadership skills and giving back to their community. "Mr. Harvey, the children you saved have become leaders," Pastor Williams reported. "Our older students now mentor younger children. Our high school graduates return as volunteers, and these kids are graduating from high school at rates that exceed city averages." Steve was particularly moved by stories of individual children whose lives had been transformed by the consistent support and opportunities provided by the youth center. Marcus Thompson, now 16, had been struggling academically and socially before joining the program at age 10. With consistent tutoring, mentorship, and encouragement, Marcus had become a honor student and leader among his peers. "Mr. Harvey, this place saved my life," Marcus said during Steve's visit. "I was headed down a bad path, but the people here believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Now I want to become a teacher so I can help other kids the way I was helped." 8-year-old Destiny Rodriguez had been extremely shy and withdrawn when she first came to the center, struggling with confidence and social skills. Through art therapy and mentorship programs, Destiny had blossomed into a confident, expressive young girl who was excelling in school and developing leadership qualities. "Mr. Harvey, Destiny's transformation has been remarkable," Pastor Williams explained. "She went from a child who wouldn't speak in group settings to someone who now leads activities for younger children. The safe, supportive environment you created has allowed her true personality to emerge." The success of the Hope Youth Center inspired Steve to establish similar programs in other cities, creating a network of community-based youth centers that provide comprehensive support for children in underserved neighborhoods. What I learned from Pastor Williams and the children of New Hope is that investing in youth programs is the most effective way to strengthen entire communities, Steve often explains. When children have safe places to learn, grow, and develop positive relationships with adults, they become the foundation for healthier, stronger neighborhoods. Today, the Hope Youth Center serves as a model for youth development programs nationwide. Educational researchers study its methods, community leaders visit to learn about effective program design, and most importantly, children continue to thrive in an environment where they are valued, supported, and encouraged to reach their full potential. Steve keeps a photo from the youth center's reopening day on his office wall. Not a picture of himself or the ribbon-cutting ceremony, but a photo of children laughing and playing in their new expanded facility, surrounded by caring adults who are committed to their success. That Saturday evening, when I stopped to pray, I thought I was seeking spiritual guidance for my own life, Steve reflects. Instead, I found an opportunity to help ensure that children in one neighborhood would have the support they needed to build successful futures. Sometimes the most meaningful prayers are the ones answered through our actions rather than our words. The story of the Hope Youth Center proves that when caring adults refuse to give up on children, and when people with resources choose to invest in community infrastructure, they create lasting change that extends far beyond individual lives to transform entire neighborhoods and inspire others to prioritize the next generation's success. If this powerful story of community dedication, child advocacy, and the transformation of a struggling ministry into a thriving youth center moved you, please subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who needs to see the importance of investing in youth programs and community infrastructure. Have you ever been involved in supporting children's programs or witnessed how safe, nurturing environments help young people thrive? Let us know in the comments about the youth programs in your community. And don't forget to ring that notification bell for more amazing stories about the beautiful things that happen when adults choose to prioritize children's welfare and create opportunities for the next generation to succeed.